Pretty Boy Detective Club continues to pad out the cast as we get into episode 8 of the series, and this is my thoughts on the episode. So yeah, this episode opens up with Dojima walking down the hall, and then she bumps into what she thinks is a yokai. It's this middle schooler dressed up in this really beautiful kimono. She says that she almost can't hear the steps of this person, and as she is kind of stunned and not moving, this person ends up arriving in front of Dojima and kind of starts talking her down like, hey peasant, you better move before I kill you. You're a lowly being, you shouldn't be in my way, you should have moved out of the way. And then as she's still kind of stuck there trying to figure out what the situation is, this person walks past her, and as she's walking away says, disgusting things like, I hate the fact that I'm basically rule over you or something like that. Very, very high and mighty attitude this person has. But yeah, she finally snaps to it when Mr. Delinquent shows up and kind of snaps her out of it. And she's like, well, I'm so happy to see your savage face or something like that. I think like progressively as this is going along, her Dojima's kind of personality is really getting really goofy, and I absolutely love it. So I was kind of pointing that out to my brothers, like, man, she's gotten so goofy now. The way that she acts with certain, like, there's a point where they're trying to move this big statue thing, and she's just kind of like, oh, help me, oh, thank you so much for helping me. Really goofy. But Delinquent was kind of mentioning the idea that, when she mentions Sakiguchi, he's like, you should be, not distance yourself with him so much. With everybody, you have a name. You have, Mr. Genius, you have Mr. Legs, but you still call him by his actual name. She's like, well, he's technically an upperclassman, so I kind of have to. And he's like, no, you should. And she's like, well, I mean, I can't just go out and call him Lolicon Man. He's like, well, I don't know if I go that far. Yeah. So when they get back to the art club, they end up finding there's this gigantic Oshie Haguita, which is a big old weird kind of unpleasant looking statue. And they're trying to figure out who placed it here. And so they go to the usual suspects. They go through Lai, the 20s, giving kind of all these different kind of possibilities. None of them seem to kind of match the situation until eventually Dojima's like, look, I passed this yokai on the way here. It's probably her. And then they all like, oh, wait, who are you talking about? Is it something that called you scum and all this other stuff? And she's like, yeah, I think it called me those two and something else. Mortal? Like, yeah, they all know who this is. Apparently, this is Kodaki Kawaki, who is the fiance of Sakiguchi, who obviously we've kind of called him a lolicon. That was wise because his fiance is this very young looking girl. So that's where we get the whole story there. And obviously now they're kind of like, yeah, this is definitely something that she would do. We're trying to figure out why she would do it. They start going through all the scenarios, the possibilities, the theories they have on how she could have pulled it off, or the usual Pretty Boy Detective Club. We're trying to figure out why, how, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it is. It's funny because during this time, this episode entirely was really Shaft going very shafty. Like the beginning segment was very kind of Shaft in the idea that they do the whole silent movie thing where Kodaki is talking to her with actual voice acting, but then whenever Dojima is reacting, it's all in silent movie film where it has it cuts to the white frame with her text. And then later on when they actually start doing the theorizing, this is when I noticed that every time it seems like they're going to be doing a theorizing session with the Pretty Boy Detective Club, it seems like they're going to change the art style. So I think the last one was very kind of chibi-esque. This one, it's tried to go for like maybe a very simple yokai storytelling kind of art style, which I actually really, really liked. So that was very interesting in that regard. But yeah, of course, they test a couple theories out, and then eventually we kind of get an idea that, at the very end, we have Kodaki ends up showing up in front of Dojima. She's in a normal school outfit, but she calls Dojima a maidservant, so this is going to be interesting. But yeah, it seems like Sakiguchi, Dojima asked Sakiguchi if he can teach her how to adjust her voice, because now she's wearing this boy outfit. They put her in the baritone area of the choir, and he's like, well, you could just ask them to get moved back. And he's like, no, that apparently she's going to do this. But so he said, you'll do it, but only if she becomes friends with Kodaki. So that's going to be interesting. I'm thinking there's going to be this thing where she's going to be try to become a friend with Kodaki, and Kodaki's going to be treating her like a maidservant. So that's going to be very, very interesting. I did like the scene where she was first asking him that. She's like, okay, this really sounds like I'm confessing to you. I don't really, you're not my type. He's like, why do I feel like I just got dumped? But they also did mention when they were, discovering that she did run into Kodaki, they mentioned that she's a devil. And specifically, they thought that this whole situation was resolved at this point, and they implied that something happened at their last, or when they were doing their last summer training session, or training camp. What had happened apparently is still up in the air. We don't know exactly what happened, but apparently that camp was canceled because of her. And they said something to the effect that the reason why there's something, bad blood here is because apparently she wanted to join the club and Satoen denied her access. So obviously Sakaguchi knew that this was going to become a problem again because now Dojima is a part of the club, and the assumption there was that Kodaki was denied because she was a girl, and here Dojima, who is a girl, is now a part of the club. So it's obviously going to cause a little bit of an issue with Kodaki. I'm definitely going to get vibes of Yandere character here, maybe. So we'll see where that goes. That'll probably be a really solid way for Chris to get in the series. It's because it's got a cute lolly Yandere character, but we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I'm actually really curious to see more of Kodaki. She seems like she's going to be a fun character, but we'll see where that goes. Definitely a fantastic episode. Visually great. Love the art style changes. Love the artistic messes around with the art styles for the theory crafting. The goofy nature of Dojima that's really coming out now. Her interactions with Mr. Delinquent's always fantastic. But yeah, that's my thoughts on episode 8 of Pretty Boy Detective Club. Definitely leave a like down below if you like this video. Comment. Let me know what you thought of the episode. Subscribe if you haven't already. I thank you all for watching, and y'all take care.